Asalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome back to my channel. I pray that you are all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a Muslimah, life coach, and I support Muslim women with relationship and mental health issues. So if you're interested in being coached by me, you can find me over on my website, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. But over here on YouTube, I make Islamic lifestyle as well as dawah content. So if you're interested in that, then definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Now guys, I do apologize for being MIA for the last couple of weeks. Most of you guys know that I am a homeschooling teacher and May/June is exam season, and because of the situation of the world, last year as well as this year, we've had to do a lot of the markings of exams. So there has been a lot of work pressure on me, but alhamdulillah, it's all over now and I can get back to doing what I love to do, which is making my YouTube content. So guys, today's video is going to be kind of like a comeback from my last video regarding narcissistic Muslim men, and this video is for the sisters who are married to Muslim men who tend to display this type of behavior and things that those sisters can do to better manage or increase the peace in the household whilst living with these certain individuals. So without any further ado guys, let's jump straight into the video. By the way, thank you guys so much for all of your help and support with the last video. Thank you for sharing it with sisters out there. Everyone really needs to hear that message, including the brothers themselves, because for too long have people been getting away with this. And you know what, someone said in my last video that it's a lot to do with the culture. You know, people's cultures have enabled them to become more narcissistic, and I do agree, but it's about time that changes. So my fellow millennials and Gen Zs out there, let's make a turnaround with this. Let's try to improve this so that our children can have a better future and not have to face some of the nonsense that we've had to face, inshallah. So anyways, the first point that I wanted to make in terms of managing to cope with living with individuals like this is that you need to learn and understand that there is no cure for narcissistic personality disorder that we know of. Okay, there is no cure that we know of right now. So living with a person like this is just a case of managing your expectations, and also as Muslims addressing the spiritual side of all of this. So having said that, my first point that I want to make for you, those of you who've decided to continue to live with men who are like this, because maybe for one reason or another you don't have a choice, is to focus on the good. I know, it sounds like what? Focus on the good. In my experience, a lot of the sisters who choose to still stay with these men are staying for many different reasons. It could be for the sake of the children. It could be because they don't have a choice but to stay in that marriage. And although there are certain circumstances in which I will say, if you are experiencing certain things, you should leave the marriage, I think that for those of you who still feel that to some extent you can cope, you have to focus on the good. For every believer, there is good in every believer. The stronger believer is more beloved to Allah than the weaker believer, but in each of them there is good. So for as long as your husband is a Muslim, which I will assume that, because if he's not, you shouldn't be married in the first place, but for as long as your husband is a Muslim and he genuinely believes in Allah, there is some good in him. So I would say focus on what he does right, focus on the good parts about his character, the kind parts about his character, because, you know, ironically, some individuals can have a lot of narcissistic traits, but then again, when you really think about who they are as a whole, you can still find some good. And you need to kind of focus on that good, because if you've chosen to stay in the marriage with someone, if all you focus on is all of their flaws, you're not gonna last in that marriage, basically, right? You can only handle it for so long. It will get to a point where you're just gonna be like, right, I'm done. And maybe that's where some of you are. You just want to manage for now, and then you know eventually you're going to move on. That's your decision to make. But I would say whilst you're there and you want to maintain some level of peace in the home, try and focus on some of the good about the individual. The second thing that you need to, or you can try to do, is to make dua. Number one, you want to make dua to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you from the evil of your spouse. In every person there is good, for most people. But at the same time, in a lot of us also, there is the bad side of us. There is the evil side of us. And so you do have to seek refuge in Allah from the evil side of your partner, because you know that there are some things that your partner is doing that is harming you and is harming your children. And no matter who you reach out to, nobody can help you like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help you. And so that's what I meant when I say, you know, as Muslims, we also have to focus on the spiritual side of this, because sometimes we've done absolutely everything we can in our power to try to change our situation. And it's so funny, because sometimes I coach sisters, and one of the first few questions I ask them is, you know, do you speak to Allah about this? And then no. It's like they never even thought, the idea of making dua was kind of like the last thing on their minds. They're like, but I've tried everything. And it's like, have you tried taking this situation to Allah? Because that should be one of the first things that you do, is take the situation to Allah. So you need to be praying every day. If you can wake up for tahajjud and pray. At the end of your fard prayers, your compulsory prayers, fajr, dhuhr, asr, maghrib, isha, all of that, you need to be at the end of each prayer making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to first and foremost protect you and your children from the harm that your husband may bring to you or is bringing to you. Secondly, whatever it is that you're wanting out of your marriage, you need to be asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make your husband a better person, you must be praying for that, and you must be asking for it. Human beings can only help you so far, but nothing is going to change unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides for it to change. But again, it does not take away from the responsibility of that individual to also change themselves, right? But you as a wife need to do your part to try and save your marriage. And again, sometimes I say this because there are so many different aspects to this. Sometimes, unfortunately, sisters are genuine when they say, my husband was not like this when I married him. Sometimes. A lot of the time it's just because they missed the red flags. But sometimes they are genuine, because there's also, you know, we all know about possessions and things like that. And people literally change. Someone goes from just being one way to suddenly having split personality issues. And a lot of the times it is possession issues in terms of someone trying to break the marriage and shaitan trying to come between the husband and the wife. And so we have to also address that side of things. And that's why I'm saying make dua. You know, you always have to include dua. So that's the second thing to do. So you're making dua. What next? You need to learn and understand narcissism. You must learn and understand what narcissism is. You need to learn what the cycle of narcissism is. Because interestingly enough, there is a cycle to the way narcissists behave. There's a cycle, especially when it comes to people that they are in romantic relationship with. They tend to have a cycle. They will usually love bomb you, and then when you refuse to do what they want, they will neglect you, and then you want that love again. And so in order to get that love again, you have to do whatever they want. And then after that, they might give you some love for a while, and then the moment you question them about something they're doing wrong, or the moment another problem comes in, they withdraw their love again, and then you're just feeling like you're in a rat race. You're constantly, you feel like you don't know what else you can possibly do to just please this person. You're constantly trying to make this person happy. You're constantly putting in the effort whilst they are just constantly pulling their love away. It's like that game that they're playing, right? So there's a cycle to how narcissists behave. You need to understand what that cycle is, because once you know what that cycle is, you then know how best to respond in certain situations. Not only do you need to learn and understand what narcissism is and the way that narcissists tend to behave, but also what you really must study is your own narcissist in your home. This man that you feel is a narcissist, or this man that you feel has certain narcissistic traits, you have to learn and really understand him. So you really have to focus. And by the way, whilst you're doing all of this, on no occasion should you ever call your husband a narcissist. I might be giving sisters all these tips, but I'm not for disrespecting your husband. I'm for giving you this knowledge so you can use it as a tool to better yourself, better your home, better your own mental health, and better your children's lives. But I'm not saying take this and the next thing he does, you're going to start calling him names and calling him narcissist. You never do that. Especially with narcissists, the last thing you want to do is call them names, because they will come for you and they will come for you hard. I want you to be safe, sisters. So please do not go out there calling him names. The other reason why you also don't want to call out his name is because once he understands that you're beginning to learn these things and you know what's going on, the game is going to flip. He's going to flip the game. And then you're going to be left even more confused than where you started off in the beginning. Because now he understands that you know what's going on. And so now the game needs to change. You need the game to be consistent, so you really understand who you're dealing with here. So understand narcissism, understand the cycle, understand your type of narcissist, because there are two types. There are the overt narcissist and the covert narcissist. There's a type of narcissist that's just like, what you see is what you get. Straight in your face type of ones. And then there's the other ones that are kind of like behind your back type narcissists. So you need to understand, what type of person am I dealing with here? Can I really trust my husband? Is he just up front and shows me who he is? Or is it more of a thing of, when we're together, he acts one way, but then when he goes to his family, he's speaking bad about me and ruining my name and degrading me in front of other people, so on and so forth. You need to know what type of person you're dealing with. So study your own narcissist at home and study narcissism in general. There are channels that are completely dedicated to this topic of narcissism, and that's all they ever talk about. And by the time you've watched quite a lot of those, trust me, you'll be able to figure out what a narcissist is, and you'll be able to literally smell them from afar. Literally. Now, as I've said before, the goal for most people who remain in these marriages is to keep the peace. So if you're trying to keep the peace in the home, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to play the narcissist's game. You're going to have to play the game, and the game is going to have to favor them in one way or another. Now, I'm not saying this is a healthy way to go on about this, but I'm saying that if you want to remain in a home with someone like this and still maintain some peace, this is just what you might have to do. And the next point is that you're just going to have to feed his ego. Narcissists love to have their egos fed, okay? They love for you to take responsibility for everything that goes wrong in the marriage. So again, I'm saying to you, doesn't mean this is healthy, but if you're going to be able to live with them, you might just have to admit to yourself that this is what you're going to have to submit to doing. They would hardly ever take any responsibility for anything that goes wrong in the marriage. It will always be your fault. Don't expect a narcissist to apologize. Again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier on in the video. Managing your expectations. You're not going to expect a narcissist to apologize to you for anything that they do wrong. Trying to get an apology out of a narcissist is one of the hardest things you can ever do, because you can start arguing from morning till night and you still get nowhere and you still won't get any apology. So to maintain some level of peace in the home, you're just going to have to say sorry, even when you're not sorry. But they need to feel like you've taken accountability, you've taken responsibility for something that is perhaps not even your fault at all. But again, to maintain the peace in the home, this is what you might just have to do. And in fact, not just in relationships, sometimes even at the workplace, if you have a very narcissistic boss, sometimes what you just have to do is suck up to this boss for a little while until you find yourself the next job. And giving them praise and, always admiring them and all of that. Sometimes that's all it takes for them to just leave you alone and back off a little bit. So again, I'm not saying it's the best and the most healthiest thing to do, but it might just be something that's necessary for your peace in the home. The third thing that you might have to do in terms of maintaining the peace in the home is finding some kind of a way to ignore his issues. If you both get upset about something and the next day he decides he wants to be nice and kind to you again, and maybe he wants some intimacy, then you suddenly just have to change up your behavior and be happy and play happy family with him once more and act like what happened the day before didn't happen. Just because they've chosen to get over it, they also expect you to get over it. And it's not coming with an apology. It's just, I've changed my attitude, so why don't you change yours? Whereas with some other men, it's not even, they don't change their attitude. They remain angry, but then they come home and they expect you to give them a nice hug and smile and be happy. So if you want to maintain the peace in the home, knowing that he's not going to change, but yet you've decided to stay, you have to also learn how to do that. You have to learn how to kind of, like I said earlier on, ignore his issues. And even if you've had issues the night before, whenever he comes home again the next day, you have to be the one to embrace him, give him a nice welcome, smile, and all of that. Again, that's all part of feeding his ego, because he hasn't had to apologize and the issue was never addressed. And you know what? He's quite happy to carry on acting like you were the one in the wrong, especially if he comes home and you beg him, you pet him, honey, I'm sorry, forgive me, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that, and all you say is everything you've done. Under no circumstances should you say what he's done. Again, if you need to keep the peace in the home, you might just have to take the blame for everything and pet him, calm him down, smile at him, let it go. The interesting thing here is narcissists find it very, very difficult, or they refuse to acknowledge the feelings of others, but they are very, very sensitive to other people's reaction towards them. So if they happen on the once in a blue moon to ever apologize to you, and you don't embrace them right away and start being happy and smiley and all of that, they're going to sense it from you. And if they feel like you're faking it, they're not even going to embrace you either. So it's almost as if you've got to get really good at acting as though you've really forgiven them, even if you haven't, and let it go, because they will spot the slightest little anger or the slightest little pull back from you. They're going to sense that and they're going to spot that straight away, and they will call you out on it straight away. They'll be like, what's wrong with you? You just had an argument yesterday. They were the one that did something wrong. It was never addressed. There was never an apology. But because today he's decided that he's over it and he wants to move on to something else, if you still have an attitude, he's going to be asking you, what's wrong with you? Like, did we not just have an argument yesterday? Did you take any responsibilities? No. So you expect to come home and meet me happy, holding you, hugging you, after I found some dodgy text messages on your phone speaking to another woman? Yeah. That's what they expect. So again, all I'm saying here is, to some extent, you have to get really good, get your acting game on, or just genuinely be more forgiving. Genuinely be more forgiving and be ready to let it go. Because to be honest, if you've decided you're going to stay in a marriage with a fully blown narcissist and you're going to remain there for the rest of your life, you have, your forgiving game has to come here. It really does. Otherwise, you're not going to survive. Because even if you act, there's only so long that you can act for. So to some extent, maybe that should also be another tip that I give, is that you really have to increase your level of forgiveness. That can be very, very hard. But again, to keep the peace in the home, that might be what you need to do. Now onto some of the things that you can do to make sure you're healthy and you're well. Because so far I've been speaking about a lot of things that you can do in terms of responding to him, but not really a lot about yourself. One thing that I really have to emphasize here is that it's very important that you get a confidant. A confidant is someone that you can confide in, someone you're really close to, someone you can open up to, someone you can be free with. Whether that person is your mother, or sometimes it might also be advisable to get a counselor. You need somebody in your life that you can offload to, and you can feel free offloading to, and you can feel safe offloading to. Because unfortunately, a lot of the times in these type of relationships, the husband, if he is the narcissist, you can't go to him to offload, because your offloading is going to come across as complaining. Your offloading is going to come across as though you're not taking his feelings into consideration, or he will just get angry and dismiss you, or he won't even listen to you to begin with. And what you start to feel is that you're keeping so much stuff inside of you. You're holding up so much. And those are the type of things that leads to like depression and anxiety and all the other mental health issues, because you're just holding in so much. If you decided that you're going to remain with this individual, you have to have somebody that you can confide in, that you can go and offload to when things get too much. And maybe you just don't even need the person to do anything, but just to listen to you. But at times as well, that person could be the extra pair of eyes that you need to validate how you're feeling. Because sometimes women are in these relationships and they become so confused because every time they react, the narcissist reacts even greater. So then they feel like their reaction is not valid. And then they start it just starts getting a mess all up in her head. You need someone sometimes who can just tell someone who's a neutral person a situation. Let's say you have a counseling session. She doesn't know your husband and she doesn't know you. But from the information that you give, if it's accurate, he or she might be able to say, you know what, you're right to feel this way. And sometimes that's just all somebody needs, is to feel like they're not going crazy, they're not overreacting about a certain situation or certain issue. So you need a confidant. On that note of needing a confidant, don't make your children your confidant. Don't do that. A lot of people like to use their children as their crutch, right? Everything that's happening between you and the father, the kids are the one in the middle hearing it. And it's so unfortunate. I've had students who've literally showed up in lessons. They're upset and I'm like, are you okay? Is everything okay? And they just blurb out everything that's happening in their family life. And I've had students sit there and literally say to me, I don't even know why my mom is still with my dad. Like, she should have left a long time ago. Imagine your child saying that she doesn't even know why her parents are still together. Because they hear and they see it all. And that's another thing as well. Make sure that the children also get some level of counseling or therapy. I know a lot of people are going to think this is just some white man stuff. We don't do that in this family. Okay, but I'm telling you, the things that your children are observing that's happening between yourself and your husband, they are learning from it. So you can be talking to them all day, every day. And you wonder where you went wrong in your parenting. You've been saying things all these years and how come they've not been listening? Because what they saw was different. And unfortunately for these children, the boys would tend to grow up to be just like their father because that's what they saw growing up. That's the example they had. And the women, they end up marrying men who are also like their fathers. It's very, very interesting. Look at your own life pattern and study your own life and have a clear look. On some occasions, you'll find that the husband is nothing like the woman's father. But a lot of the times you find that if the girl thinks very carefully about the type of husband she married, she'll realize in a lot of ways her husband is also like her father. And a lot of ways you find that the men who behave like this, their fathers also behaved like that. So it's very, very important that you get some kind of counseling or some type of therapy for the children, because some ways they have to unlearn what they've learned. And they need good examples and good role models to teach them what is the right way to behave as a man. What is the right way to behave as a woman? And this is where mentoring comes into place. If you can't get your child counseling or therapy, or you don't believe in that, the least you can do, get them a mentor. A mentor is someone who is a good example and a good role model at a particular area of life, who can guide them and support them in being a man or being a woman or in certain areas of their life so that they can thrive and they can succeed. And this is where all of us as a collective, as a society, we really come in. I feel like a lot of us have just become so humbled. We just want to humble ourselves to the point where we can't even admit to the blessings that Allah has given us. Some of us are really good at certain things, but we're like, oh no, I'm not role model, I'm not example, I'm not this, I'm not that. And you sit back, you hold that gift and you hold it back, you do nothing with it. Society needs that gift. The next generation, they need that gift. Some of us have to remain humble, but at the same time also recognize the blessings that Allah has given us. Right? And I'm not just talking about being good in the deen or whatever. Even if it's just something to do with worldly issues, but you're good at it and you realize that there are children who also need to learn how to do this thing the right way, you can come and offer that service and help the next generation. We have to make some level of a difference. Dawah is not always just being able to read Quran and quote hadith. Dawah is also whatever you can offer to the world that will benefit the world, that would make the next generation even better than our generation. That in and of itself is also dawah. As long as you do it with a good heart and a good intention, that is also dawah. We need, especially brothers, to mentor the next generation of Muslim men. Sisters, please share this video, or just take a part of this video, or just take this message and tell other people, please. We need brothers to mentor other young Muslim men. It's so important. You know, us women, we like to talk anyways. You know, if the girl, she doesn't hear it one way, she'll hear it another way, because we're always talking. We're always talking. Their sisters, halakas, sisters most of the time are the ones that attend lectures to listen to lectures. Brothers are apparently too busy. They don't have time for a lot. But we need to capture them young, and we really need to, we need to train their mind in a way that will help and support them to be better people in the future. And so they need mentors. They need good examples of good brothers who are on the right path. Brothers who have, for example, if you're a brother and Allah has given you the gift of patience, some of us, we just don't have it, myself included, right? But some people have just been blessed with the gift of patience, and they have their little tricks here and there that they do. You find that he's been with his one wife for the last 35, 40 years, and you're asking him, how did you do it? He has his little ways. He has his little ways, and it's working, and he's happy with his wife. At least he keeps her happy anyway. He knows how to handle her. We need brothers who can be that good example to teach other young men how to do it. When I say he knows how to handle her, I don't mean beating and all the nonsense. I mean, he knows a good way to that, you know, how he can still get his wife on board, but still keep her happy and keep himself happy as well. And he has those ways of how to be patient. We need brothers to teach other young men these type of things, to teach men how to even be men. Because nowadays, these are conversations I'm not seeing even happening. Because I don't think a lot of us women, we know what it means to be a woman. And I don't think a lot of the boys know how to even be a man. And I'm saying the boys because if a man really understands what it means to be a man, then he's already a man. But if you just have a grown person, male, who thinks he's a man, but still has the mentality of a child, he's not yet a man. He's just a grown-up male. So what the children see in the home really matters. And your job as a mother, if you have children in this type of marriage that you're in and you've decided to stay for whatever reason, I'm not judging you for that, but I'm saying something has to also be done for the kids. Otherwise, they're going to grow up being messed up somehow. Go out there and get mentors for your children, and do not make your children the ones that have to hear everything that's happening between you and your husband. Look at your father. He's so used to this. Stop all of that. The children are seeing. They already know for the most part. What you need to do is help them so they can become better people in the future. And it's going to take more than you, sis. You can't do it alone. You're going to need help. You can maybe raise a girl and teach her how to be a woman, but you cannot teach a boy how to be a man fully. There's a part that only a man can do, and that's where the mentoring can come into place. So please try to get your children some type of mentoring if you are in this type of relationship. By the way, guys, I apologize if you can hear music. My neighbors, I don't know what it is with them. Seriously, it's a Monday afternoon. Why you need to be blazing love songs, I don't know. But anyway, we move. The next point that I wanted to share with you guys is that you as the spouse in this relationship, who is the more healthier spouse, you must keep your relationship with Allah very, very strong. Be very, very careful not to place your dependence on your husband. Don't place your dependence on your husband. Don't place your dependence on your wife if it's a woman that happens to be a narcissist. Because I know some brothers also watch this video. And I'm not denying that women can't be narcissists. Like I said, the video about narcissistic mother is coming. So make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make you independent of that individual. Because one of the worst things that we do to ourselves is that we depend on people far too much. A lot of our disappointments in life is because we expected from people what we didn't get from them. And I'm not saying you're wrong for expecting certain things, but the less of an expectation you have from a human being, the more peace you're going to have in your heart. And you also want to keep your relationships with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strong, because indeed in the remembrance of Allah does the heart find rest. Those of you who are watching and you've never been in narcissistic relationships, you will never understand how draining, how mentally draining living with this type of person or being with this type of person can be. It seems like a light issue, but it's not. For those who really, their narcissistic game is up here, it is very, very difficult to live with these individuals. So you have to make sure that you as a sister have something going on for yourself that is feeding your spiritual life. Somewhere where you're truly getting your sense of peace and happiness from. Because when that thing connects to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nobody can take that away from you. He can do whatever he's going to do, but he'll be surprised when he sees you and you still have a sense of peace and a sense of happiness. Yes, because that sense of peace and happiness is not from him, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please, sisters, keep your relationship with Allah extremely strong, because you will get so many benefits from that. Perhaps you might decide to stay in that marriage, but maybe out of Allah's love and mercy for you, he might remove you from that marriage and grant you someone better. Maybe. Or maybe he might change your spouse and change their heart and change their behavior. Allahu alam. But even if you don't get all of that from this dunya, know that a believer does not go through any difficulty except that he or she is rewarded for the difficulty that they go through. If it's not used as an expiation for their sins, then they're going to get rewarded for that difficulty. So you're not going through this for nothing, and you're not just suffering in this life. I feel like it's very important to tell you that. You're gaining rewards for your sabr, for going through this. But again, there is a point to where it might just become too much. And that's what I want to mention next. If it becomes too much and you are beginning to feel depressed, I'm not talking about you cried half an hour last week. I'm talking about you're beginning to feel real depressed. You're beginning to have suicidal thoughts. Or he's physically abusing you. Sis, as far as I'm concerned, time out. It's time to get out. It doesn't necessarily have to be divorce, but at least separation. Because no matter what, your life comes first. Life before any man. Life before any woman. I'm sorry. I know you have your children and all of that to think about, but sis, nothing's going to change if you die today. If anything, your kids are going to be the ones to suffer even more. So if you're getting into depression, you're becoming suicidal, or he's physically abusing you, it's time to start making an exit strategy. I am a big advocate for marriage. I might make these videos and it might sound like she's against marriage. I'm not. I'm one of the biggest advocates for marriage. If I counsel a sister that's married, I'm literally trying to come up with everything that she can do to save her marriage before she leaves. But you know, in those three circumstances, sis, it's time to get out. Because if you die today, your children will suffer. And nothing of that situation will change. It's not going to change the man because you died. Your kids will suffer and you would have benefited nothing from remaining there. Put your life first. You can only fight battles whilst you're alive. You can't fight a battle when you're dead and you're in your grave, because there's a whole set of trials there for you to face until the day of judgment. So please preserve your life. I know we're all going to go, but that doesn't mean you have to die because of a man. So please make sure that if it becomes too much, your too much might not be my own too much. Maybe I can take more than you can take. So that's why generally I don't like telling people, if he's doing this, just pack your bags and go on. Everybody's situation is different and everyone can take different things. Everybody's limit is different. But where your life is in danger, for me personally, that's where I'll just be like, no. Game over. Where your life is in danger is game over. He's not that special for you to literally die there or let him kill you one way or another. He's not that special. I'm sorry. I know he's your husband, you love him, but he's not that special. Okay? So please, sisters, make sure you know what your boundaries are and what your limits are. But try to put these things in place, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help. Generally, also, I want to say, make sure you put into plan all the other things that people normally do when they're having issues in their marriages, which is getting someone from his side of the family, someone from your side of the family. You can sit together and try to see if you can resolve your issues. That's what we're supposed to do as married couples, as Muslim married couples, when there's an issue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if there's an issue between them, get someone from the woman's side and get someone from the man's side. and let them see if they want resolution. Allah will bring about resolution between them, but that's only if it's best for you. If it's not best for you, sometimes Allah will literally make that man leave your life. You'll be chasing him thinking, I'm losing. But sometimes it's not until you come out of that situation that you realize Allah just did you the best favor. Allah literally just saved you. Because sometimes you don't realize how much pain you're in until you come out of that situation and you experience so much peace and you're like, wow. I didn't know how much pain I was in because I was so used to the pain. I almost thought it was normal. So please, sisters, try to put some of these things into actions, but know that there are certain points where you might just have to take a break from this whole marriage situation and get your health and yourself back into a good place, and then you can address the situation. So I hope you guys find this video beneficial. I know it's not easy, okay? It's not easy. And I don't want anyone out there to give up on men by hearing some of these or listening to some of these videos. There are good brothers out there. They're just becoming more and more rare, but they are out there. So if you're still searching, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a good person. And if your husband for the most part is good, but he just has these little issues here and there, that can be addressed. You don't need to walk out of your marriage just because of some small issues that can be addressed. But like I said, when it comes to the point, when it gets too far, like the examples I give you, time to take a break. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us. I am so hot. It's such a hot day. I'm going to go and cool off and relax a little bit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of your situations easy for you. If any of you guys want a coaching sessions with me, like I said at the beginning of the video, you can book a session with me via my website if you want to address some personal issues, inshallah. But either way, I hope this video has been beneficial. And inshallah ta'ala, I will see you in my next video. Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.